This is the ABC Evening News. Tonight with Barbara Walters, Peter Jennings, and Howard K. Smith.
Good evening from Washington. Harry is on his way to Korea. Our top stories. President Carter calls for a federal investigation of the massive power failure that devastated New York City.
An investigation, Barbara, of what the power company here called an act of God, a series of lightning strikes which sent 10 million lives into darkness, and sometimes worse.
Also, 3 American soldiers are killed and 1 is captured when North Koreans shoot down their helicopter. And we'll hear from the wife of an American double agent who's been missing for 18 months.
I'll have a comment on the blackout of 77, the blackout of 65, and the lessons we didn't learn. Peter?
That cartoon, Howard, about New York City being closed came true last night. For more than 12 hours, virtually every facet of urban life here was crippled. No electricity meant no refrigeration, no air conditioning, in many cases no water, and of course no light. It was a rigorous repeat of the performance of 1965 blackout, people trapped in elevators and subways. When first light broke over the area this morning, it was still not electric. Late today, there are still sections of the city which have not had services restored. The New Yorker seemed in many cases less inspired than last time. For one thing, it was hotter, 90 degrees again today. The cost has been enormous for individuals and supermarkets, rotting food. For the stock market and most other businesses, well, they stayed closed as city officials urged people to stay at home. Not everyone did, especially in poorer sections of the city. Looting and vandalism have been disappointingly widespread. Many small businesses without adequate insurance may have been wiped out altogether. In short, this blackout, unlike 1965, brought out the worst in people as well as the best. James Walker explains what that meant last night.
New York's clocks were frozen, marking the time when the city's ugliest night began. When thousands of New Yorkers, under cover of the blackout, started looting.
People took advantage of it right away. I mean, they knew what stores they had, like appliance stores, small things that they could carry. As you see, they broke the windows. As soon as they broke the windows, they went in. Everybody had a field day. Whatever they could carry, they carried out.
The ugliness increased by the hour. Roving gangs set fires throughout the ghettos in Brooklyn, the Harlem section of Manhattan, and the Bronx. Firefighters battled 80-degree temperatures as they raced through the city's 5 boroughs. As firemen fought this Brooklyn fire, behind the building, young men and women looted a toy store, carrying off boxes of dolls, boats, and planes. A few blocks away, other people were stealing clothes and suits. And as the blackout and looting grew, so did the calls for help. Police department operators received over 5,000 calls, pleas for ambulances to assist, and for emergency crews to free people stranded in elevators. Help also came from volunteers, some who moved into the streets to keep traffic flowing. Others entertained, like in this lobby, while residents waited to get to their high-rise apartments. But help proved to be the exception as the window smashing, burning, and stealing escalated, leaving police outmanned, unable to keep up with the hit-and-run looters. About 80 police officers were injured during the night. Over 2,000 people were arrested for looting, but police said thousands more got away. One person died, but some hospital emergency rooms looked like a battleground. Hundreds of people were treated throughout the night, exhausting doctors and nurses.
We've had over 100, maybe 150 patients who've been either shot, lacerated, mugged in general in the darkness. As you can see now, there seems to be a lot of confusion in the emergency room, but basically, we've seen our way out of most of our problems now.
It was, said one police officer, New York City's worst night. Hundreds injured, senseless damage and destruction. James Walker, ABC News, New York.
The New Yorker, it often seems, is bred to cynicism, but for a long time he's believed that the chances of this happening a second time were pretty remote. He was assured as recently as last weekend by Charles Luce, the board chairman of New York's only power company.
I can guarantee that the chances of a brownout or a blackout are less than they've been in the last 15 years, and that the chances are less here than in most other cities in the United States. I can't guarantee, however, that because we do use machines, and the machines are run by human beings, that under no possible circumstances could it happen. But I don't think it's going to happen.
But a massive blackout did happen again.
This is Jules Bergman. It started around 8:30 last night when several bolts of lightning knocked out a major transmission line in northern Westchester County, a line that brings in extra power to New York for the hot, humid weather. At about the same time, another massive lightning bolt hit a transformer feeding power south from the Indian Point nuclear station to New York City. That cut more than 15% of the total power for the New York area. Warning alarms went off at Con Ed's Energy Control Center in Manhattan. Power was swiftly reduced by first 5 and then 8%, but that didn't stop the developing failure. Power was then cut off in 2 towns in suburban Westchester. Now it was 9:30, and Ravenswood, the system's single biggest plant, began to fail, saying in effect, "I can't give it to you, I can't carry the entire load." That was it. New York City went dark. Smaller Con Ed plants elsewhere were useless after the 2 biggest units, the Indian Point nuclear station and Ravenswood, went out of action. Automatic protective devices aimed at cutting out up to 50% of the load, which in theory would have saved the city from total blackout, failed to work. It all happened so fast that the system shut itself down before Con Ed could act to prevent the blackout. Late today, the Federal Power Commission said that what happened here could happen anywhere. This is Jules Bergman, ABC News, New York.
Despite the Federal Power Commission's belief that it could have happened anywhere, Con Ed had called it an act of God. The mayor of this city, Abraham Beame, running for re-election, unequivocally blamed the power company.
We've seen our citizens subjected to violence, vandalism, theft, and discomfort. The blackout has threatened our safety and has seriously impacted our economy. We've been needlessly subjected to a night of terror in many communities that have been wantonly looted and burned. The cost, when finally tallied, will be enormous.
President Carter today ordered the Federal Power Commission to investigate what went wrong, and that search will be underway tomorrow. You might well ask, if it can happen in New York, what about my city? Well, from the West and the Midwest tonight, an attempt to answer that question. Here's Ron Miller.
This electric power control center near Chicago is the Midwest's primary safeguard against a massive blackout. While Midwestern Power Company executives don't want to tempt fate and say there'll never be a New York-style power outage here, it appears that such a blackout, particularly in Chicago, is a virtual impossibility. The reason? The Midwest has the nation's largest and best-connected electric power reservoir.
Unfortunately, they're on the East Coast, and they have nobody to the east of them, and their interconnections are not as strong as we have in this part of the country. And our generating facilities are more concentrated, and as a result, we think we have a much higher stability in this part of the country.
Chicago commuters have an additional advantage. The Midwest's largest suburban railroad, the Chicago Northwestern, can run on an emergency power supply. Stephen Gear surveyed the blackout potential west of the Rocky Mountains.
The power system from Denver west is designed to prevent major blackouts. Lower concentrations of population make the West less susceptible. These relays are designed to disconnect and prevent lengthy blackouts. The longest in Southern California was 9 minutes last September, affecting 1,500,000 people. Ronald Knapp, systems manager for Southern California Edison, is quite confident of avoiding what happened in New York.
So it's not going to happen here? I wouldn't say never. Never is a long time. In other words, it really isn't supposed to happen here. But nobody's perfect. And we couldn't help noticing that the pencils issued by Southern California Edison do have erasers. In fact, this one's pretty well worn out. Stephen Gear, ABC News, in Los Angeles County.
They understood our problems in Mexico City last night, the only other city in the world to have a blackout. It lasted 90 minutes, and there was no panic. ABC News will have a special report on the blackout tonight at 9:30 Eastern and Pacific Time, 8:30 Central Time.
I'm going to admit something that many women nowadays hesitate to admit. I'm a housewife, and I'm proud of it. Sure, I have my interests outside the home, but what's most important to me is knowing that my family is happy and healthy. And I know how important it is that I do the right things for my health, like taking Geritol every day.
Geritol, to be sure you get enough iron and some very important vitamins. Take a look at what Geritol can do for you.
Geritol every day.
A Triscuit, delicious whole wheat Triscuit.
Harry, have these. They're good for you.
They go with everything you like.
Boy, Ma, Triscuits with grilled cheese. That's great.
They're mighty satisfying.
100% natural whole wheat Triscuit wafers. So deliciously different, they serve any situation.
A Triscuit.
Darling, these are marvelous.
Baked only by Nabisco.
U.S. officials are blaming a simple mistake in navigation for the death of 3 American soldiers and the wounding and capture of a 4th in North Korea. The 4 men flying an unarmed cargo helicopter near the demilitarized zone wandered over North Korea by accident. South Koreans tried to warn the pilot by firing a few shots. The crew landed inside North Korea to inspect the damage, then took off. This time, the North Koreans opened fire. The helicopter crashed, killing 3 men. The 4th was wounded and captured. None has been identified. President Carter reacted quickly and cautiously. We have reports. First, White House correspondent Sam Donaldson.
The president was attending after-dinner entertainment at the White House for visiting German Chancellor Schmidt when word of the helicopter mishap reached him. He went to the Situation Room for a briefing, but soon returned for a planned late-night chat with Schmidt and bed, leaving it to his press secretary to read a statement that managed to sound both firm and non-belligerent.
We are deeply concerned about this incident, and we are requesting a prompt explanation from North Korean authorities. Any penetration of North Korean airspace that may have taken place would have been unintentional and regrettable.
By 8 a.m., when the president saw some senators who had a previous appointment, there was no more ambiguity as to whether the helicopter had actually strayed into forbidden airspace. Mr. Carter was positively conciliatory.
Let them know that we realize that the mistake was made by the crew in going to the demilitarized zone. We primarily understand in having the incident not escalate into a confrontation and also to account for the crew members. This is the most important thing. It was a routine flight from the west coast of Korea to the east coast, and in daylight, apparently the helicopter just lost its navigation.
The rest of the day has really been an anticlimax. The White House refining details of what happened, but continuing the general air of deliberate calmness. Spokesman telling reporters the president has not departed from his regular schedule, and there has been no basic change in the readiness status of U.S. forces in Korea. All this restraint, caution, timidity, call it what you will, seems to be based on a belief here that saber-rattling will do nothing to bring back the ill-fated helicopter crew, only make it more dangerous for everyone else there, increasing tensions. And at a time Mr. Carter is pushing ahead with his plan to withdraw American ground troops from Korea for good. Sam Donaldson, ABC News, the White House.
This is Barry Dunsmore. It was ironic that the helicopter incident should take place on the very day that General George Brown was scheduled to testify on U.S. troop withdrawal from South Korea. The Joint Chiefs are not crazy about the idea, but they have gone along with it. However, many of the committee members took the position that the incident demonstrated the bizarre nature of North Korean behavior. Doesn't it follow, Brown was asked repeatedly, that withdrawing troops would be an open invitation to the North to invade the South? No, said Brown, adding that the incident was entirely consistent with the pattern of North Korean behavior and did not require a reevaluation of the withdrawal policy. This was a position confirmed by the president and later repeated to reporters.
They asked me if the planned withdrawal of U.S. ground combat troops from Korea was being reevaluated in the light of this incident, and I said no. Our planned withdrawal is going to stretch over a period of 4 to 5 years. It's a very involved and major undertaking, and I think this incident will have no impact on it.
That remains to be seen. Congress had already demonstrated itself to be very cautious about the policy of withdrawing troops from Korea, and this latest incident, at very least, adds to that sentiment. Actually, the Congress can't technically stop the commander-in-chief from withdrawing troops, but if it won't allocate funds to beef up South Korea's forces, then withdrawal is not a feasible policy. Barry Dunsmore, ABC News at the Capitol.
This is Irv Chapman in Seoul, South Korea. This is still a country with an overnight curfew, where incidents across the truce zone have been all too frequent in the 24 years since the Korean War stopped. It's Friday morning now here in Korea. Last night, the American truce team bore President Carter's conciliatory message to Panmunjom, but the North Koreans would not agree to meet. They asked for 2 days' delay. The Americans said 1 day. Conciliatory or no, this argument over when to meet is generally the first stage after the truce has been broken. Ironically, the incident occurred as the smiling North Korean leader Kim Il-sung was appearing on Japanese television, saying he'd like to have more contacts with the U.S. government, but he's yet to hear from Washington on that subject. Kim toyed with an extra pair of eyeglasses as he spoke, giving no hint of advancing age or ill health. Unless the North Koreans are determined to upset the U.S. troop withdrawal schedule, the matter could be resolved in a series of meetings about the helicopter incident in the next 10 days or so. But in the past, the North Koreans did not give up captured Americans until months had gone by, and they'd signed confessions of spying. This is Irv Chapman, ABC News, Seoul, South Korea.
Sam Donaldson also reports tonight that the helicopter was supposed to have a South Korean navigator aboard, but the crew couldn't find him and took off alone. Republican Senator John Tower said today's helicopter incident proves that American troops should not be withdrawn from Korea. Democrat George McGovern said it shows that they should be. Senate Republican leader Howard Baker called the president's statement restrained and responsible.
Friday, a double feature presentation. The story of a legendary mountain man.
I'll get us there and we'll be alive.
Bridger, the man who saved the Oregon Territory. Then a different kind of gunfight.
You think they wouldn't pay a lot to see us shoot it out?
A gunfight for money.
I ain't never gonna be beaten no gunfight.
There's nobody faster with a gun than me.
Kirk Douglas and Johnny Cash in A Gunfight, right after Bridger. Tomorrow, starting at 8, 7 Central and Mountain on ABC.
Breakfast! American children really have a lot. But according to the U.S. government, almost 50% of all the children in this country fail to get their recommended daily allowance of vitamin C. That's why I'm glad my children love the taste of Tang Instant Breakfast Drink. Each glass contains a full day's supply of vitamin C.
Sure tastes good after a night in the wilderness, Mom.
Look for Tang in the convenient new 9-quart canister.
One of the first things a fruit and cereal lover learns is that when you run out of fruit, you're left with just plain cereal. That's why experienced fruit and cereal lovers eat Post Raisin Bran. You see, Post mixes wholesome bran flakes with so many sweet, chewy raisins, you can get fruit in spoonful after spoonful, right down to the last spoonful. Next time, you'll know to ask for Post Raisin Bran, the fruit and cereal lover's cereal.
A real-life spy story. Nicholas Shadrin was the classic double agent, a Russian defector to the United States. The Russians thought he was spying for them, but he was in reality spying for us. Then in 1975, he simply disappeared, kidnapped apparently by Russian agents. His wife now claims that the U.S. government isn't trying very hard to get him back. Charles Gibson has more.
Shadrin's wife has pored over the pictures of the Church Plaza in Vienna, Austria, where her husband was kidnapped in December 1975. FBI officials told her then the U.S. government would get her husband home quickly. But Blanca Shadrin feels the government reneged.
I do feel that he was abandoned by the government, United States government. When I appealed through Mr. Brzezinski to see President Carter, I was turned down. And we were told subsequently that President Carter won't be involved.
Why? Why do you think he's been abandoned?
Well, they probably decided to sacrifice him as a victim of detente.
Both the White House and the State Department today denied that.
We have been and are trying through a number of channels to establish his whereabouts, assuming he is alive, and we are not certain about that. And having established that, to have him returned, if he is alive, safely to his family and to this country.
Mrs. Shadron hired a lawyer who has negotiated with an East German intermediary, a specialist in spy trades. He's as much as told her husband is alive, but the spy swap has never quite worked. Mrs. Shadron says after 18 months, she expects the man she married back in 1960 has been broken by the Russians. Her last hope, she says, is to take her human rights story to the press, a move that she resisted in the past, fearing it might cause her husband's death.
I exhausted all the resources up to the last one, and the very last it was going to press, hoping that through press, because I couldn't do it otherwise, I can appeal to President Carter.
Charles Gibson, ABC News, McLean, Virginia.
The State Department has denied reports that the United States has been secretly selling arms to South Africa despite a UN embargo on such sales. It calls the reports false and tendentious.
Hey there. Maybe you needed Nytol last night. Maybe you had trouble falling asleep. Well, that's what Nytol's all about. On those occasional nights when you do have trouble, Nytol can help make you drowsy so you can fall asleep. Come on, America. Stop yawning. For occasional sleeplessness, remember, Nytol.
Good Morning America means people. Our charming hostess, Sandy Hill. News with Steve Bell. Rona Barrett in Hollywood. Jack Anderson in Washington. Howard Cosell and humorist Irma Bombeck. The weather from John Coleman. There's Helen Gurley Brown, John Lindsay, and our people reporter, Geraldo Rivera. They make Good Morning America a friendly awakening. And I'm David Hartman, your host. Join us weekday mornings on ABC.
It's Julie Andrews as thoroughly modern Millie, a single girl living it up in the roaring 20s.
What is your opinion of brute force, Mr. Craven?
Operator, you have obviously never been in a Chinese opium den.
With Mary Tyler Moore and Carol Channing.
I'm a jazz baby.
It's a thoroughly delightful, thoroughly modern Millie.
Saturday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain on ABC.
These men and women are about to battle for $6,000. They will do anything, even lie, to prove they are the better sex.
Is this where friendship ceases?
Sarah Purcell and Bill Anderson host as everyone gets into the act, even the audience, in the race for the big cash payoff.
The correct answer is a bronze. No way.
From the producers of Family Feud, it's The Better Sex.
Premieres Monday at 12, 11 Central, 10 Mountain on ABC.
In other news, the House Labor and Education Committee today approved a bill that would extend the mandatory retirement age to 70 in private industry. And the measure also would end mandatory retirement for federal workers at any age. Currently, forced retirement in the private sector is legal at 65 and at 70 for federal workers. The House Commerce Committee gave President Carter a narrow victory today. It defeated, but by only 3 votes, a move to deregulate the price of natural gas. Yesterday in Detroit, 2 Filipino nurses were convicted on charges of poisoning patients at a Veterans Administration hospital. Today, supporters of the nurses rallied to their defense. And Vince Wade has a report.
Several hundred demonstrators paraded around the Detroit Federal Court building in a rally protesting the guilty verdict. There is worry the verdict will generate widespread prejudice and fear against other Filipino nurses. The 2 convicted nurses, Leonora Perez and Filipino Narciso, were allowed to remain free on bond.
How do you feel about what happened?
I was so depressed yesterday.
P.I., how did you feel about what happened in court the other day? What was your reaction to that verdict?
I'm very shocked. I'm still shocked now. I'm very grateful for all these people.
P.I., does what happened in court today restore your faith in the system?
I don't know. I'm still a victim of the system.
Leonie, do you feel like you were victimized in this?
Yes. I don't have any faith in the American system.
The 2 nurses will be sentenced in about a month. Their convictions in the poisoning case could get them life in prison. Vince Wade, ABC News, Detroit.
A California grand jury acted today in the so-called trash bag murder case involving as many as 28 killings with homosexual overtones. The jury indicted Patrick Wayne Kearney on 3 murder charges, but the jury refused to indict Kearney's roommate, David Hill, because the district attorney said the case against Hill was too weak. Kearney and Hill, who are admitted homosexuals, turned themselves into police at the urging of their families. Mrs. Jane Young, 55, wife of Democratic Congressman John Young of Texas, was found dead last night of an apparently self-inflicted gunshot wound in the temple. At the height of the Wayne Hayes Elizabeth Reid scandal, Young was accused by a former secretary of paying her salary largely for sexual favors. Young denied it. ABC announced today Cassie Mackin will join our news staff as Washington correspondent starting September 1st. She's been a network correspondent at NBC since 1971. Welcome, Cassie.
Hey, garage sale.
Enjoy it. How much is it?
Where's your bathroom?
How much are those?
How much is that?
Look out, Mom. Whoa. How much was it? They're not for sale.
Even when you can't hold up any longer, your hair can with FinalNet. It's not an aerosol hairspray. No aerosol propellant mixed in. FinalNet's concentrated to hold your hair all day. FinalNet holds up longer than you do.
Ma, you saw my basketball?
Hi, I'm Pat O'Brien. The makers of Phenamid Gum have a new laxative that's proven effective with people our age. New dual formula Phenamid pills. It's today's gentle laxative formula. It contains a mild stimulant, combined with the softener most recommended by doctors. And that's something to think about. New dual formula Phenamid pills. It's today's gentle laxative formula that's proven effective with people our age.
The great New York blackout leaves a queasy feeling. It makes you think, one man said, what a few terrorists with pliers could do. The worrisome thing is, it happened before, and though something's been done, it's not enough. Too many airports, subways, hospitals, highways, commuter railways, fire alarms were without subsidiary power sources. Last time, in 1965, Congressman Paul Rogers proposed for a city that important, not 1, but 2 or 3 backup systems. He apparently went unheeded. But more worrying was the spirit of the occasion. Last time, like London in the Blitz, people pulled together in high humor. Funny stories abounded, like the one about the man and the woman stalled in the elevator. Police broke through and shouted, "Is there a pregnant woman in there?" "No," said the man, "we just met." Or the drunk who slept through it all and refused to believe anything had happened. Power returned in exactly 12 hours, and his restarted electric clock was running right on time. Or the littered automat with the sign, "Pardon our appearance, we were up all night." David Reisman, the sociologist, said at that time, being all in the same fix created a little era of good feeling. Well, there was some of that last night, but there was much more fear and crime. It may sound a little far-fetched, but the lesson remains. Like the New York power system, our cities are still troubled and badly need help they're not getting. Barbara?
Thank you, Howard. And for Howard, Peter, and me, good evening.
This has been the ABC Evening News with Harry Reisner and Barbara Walters. ABC News brings you a special report tonight at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central and Mountain on the New York blackout and the North Korean downing of an American helicopter.
Here in Nashville, 3 persons are shot on a Metro bus.
And a retired fireman is accused of deliberately setting fire to a fire hall.
American League All-Star pitchers have been named, and Bill Battle is in the news again.
We'll have these stories and more next on Newswatch.
Security Federal Savings and Loan. You get top dollar for your savings at Security, the highest rate allowed by the U.S. government agency that insures your savings to $40,000. You get up to 7 3/4% for savings certificates kept to maturity. Early withdrawals earn at the current passbook rate less 90 days.
Your future is much brighter with Security.
It's a new